All right, we are live after a whole bunch of stuff. I'm Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. This is the lunch break, and joining me, I was hoping to call it the reunion of KG, the Fifth Water Wildcat, and Doc, but through technical difficulties, it looks like I can't get Doc. Hell, microphone wouldn't work at all. Couldn't get a code, couldn't get all kinds of stuff. But Fifth Water Wildcat, Jay Woodley, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today. I'm doing pretty good. Woke up this morning and I'm happy.
Doc, log out and come back in, man. You That's weird how Jerry can not hear me, but Doc can hear me. But yeah, just keep on talking, Jerry. We're gonna come figure
All
this out.
right. All right. What we
Man,
got
oh
going?
man.
What's under discussion for today? Is it freelance or we got topics and what we got going?
It's free it's freelance. So we'll see if Doc can come in. This is amazing because I want to try to this is not the way I wanted to do, obviously, for those who
I can
were
imagine.
chiming in. The initial plan was to do this from Radio Row at Georgia Brown Convention Center, and that fell through because of issues out of our control. And so you just keep on rolling with the punches, and hopefully Doc can come in because, like I said, this was going to be a reunion of the KG Fifth Ward Wildcat and Dr. Cavil show. Doc, can you hear us? Doc, can you hear us? Nope, man. What is going on, man? this is so disappointing, man. Oh man.
So we
Well,
got stories.
yeah, we got stories. I don't know. Reset your computer, Doc. That's what I had to do. I had to restart my stuff. Close your browser and try to come back in like that. But this is still the lunch break powered by JM&E and also on the BS3 network. If you have a Roku streaming device, just download BS3 TV. If not, just go to bs3network.com. I really wanted to get the dean of HBCU sports to chime in and give us his thoughts on the HBCU All-Star game, but that took place Sunday at TSU H&P Arena. But the Wildcat was there. So the Wildcat, you give us your assessment of the HBCU All-Star game that took place at H&PE, sir.
Well, first off, I am happy for the crowd and all the folks that showed up yesterday because they could have been somewhere else, but they chose to step out at Texas Southern and come and watch the HBCU All-Stars. It was a MEAC versus the SWAC. A lot of gunners in the MEAC. I might start paying attention to what's going on over on that side. Somebody told me that CIAA does base the same thing. But in the SWAC, got bigs, you can do a lot of things. All you need is guards to help out, get them the ball, and get them on the block, and then boom, you can go to work. The best thing about yesterday, I was happy to see Jordan Carl Nicholas and John Walker III, graduating seniors, show up and show out. Texas Southern was well represented. They had two swag bands, Prairie View, Marching Storm, and Texas Southern's Ocean of Soul. It was a good day. It was a good day.
How was the crowd throughout the building?
It was packed. It's hard to get those ends and all filled out. So what they basically did was put the bands on one end and fans on the other, but on the sides, behind the bench and behind the press table, it was a group of folks. It was like a Prairie View Texas Southern game, and everybody here that's familiar with that here locally, that's a crowd. That's a crowd.
Did you get a chance to interview the organizer?
No, I did not. No, I was not.
Did you get a chance to see the organizer?
I sure did. I sure did. But no, that was not on the agenda, as they say.
Who won the game? Because I was watching. What time was the game yesterday? Sunday's game?
Yeah, it was the MEAC won. It was 113 to 99, and the fellas was trying very hard to get to that last yard, but it just couldn't cross over the threshold. Matter of fact, getting back to the game notes on the MEAC side, Kerry Richardson from Morehouse was their leading scorer for with 14, and for the SWAC side, it was Jordan Carr Nicholas. Kris, you've been looking at it like, okay, where is this coming from? Jordan Carr, he had 26 points yesterday, 10 rebounds. He was a workaholic.
Jerry.
Wait, that's Kris. You know you got to get in where you fit in. And you know when you get your hands on the ball, you got to be doing something with it. You and I both know that we done watched enough of them over the years that if you don't hadn't figured out how to get your hands on the ball, at some point it's not gonna work for you. And John Walker III does what he does. 17 points. Played 14 plus minutes, and Carl Nicholas was 26 plus minutes. It was a good day. It was a good day for Texas Southern. I'm not kind of happy that those fellas are finally going on, but they've reached that point. They've done what they need to do on the basketball court, and also they've done what they need to do in the classroom. They're moving on. I'm happy to see that.
Just assess, and I'm talking to the college sports reporters. We're trying to still figure out the technical issues for Dr. Kenyetta Cavil, AKSVV CSR, also known as the Fifth Ward Wildcat. Give me your assessment. You spent a lot of time over on H&PE this season. What'd you see on the men's basketball side? What did you see? Because you're one of the few folks who believe in Coach Jones, and once they made the SWAC tournament,
here we AC,
go. They're going to win the tournament. So let's go ahead and share your thoughts on why you thought that.
The other coaches in the SWAC referred to Coach Johnny Jones as Tournament Johnny. And the SWAC is balanced. The only dominant team is Texas Southern at this point. And to be honest with you, this was a down year for the Tigers, basically because of a few things, more so with injuries than overall through the whole season. So they kind of like figured it out as players, and Coach Jones does what he needs to do to keep the ball rolling. And he basically said, all I need to do is get to the tournament. And once they did, those one-game situations, it works in his favor. Especially when
why do you think that? Why does it work in his favor?
I think it's because the kids understand at the beginning of the year what the goal is. In order to get to the NC2As, you got to get to the tournament, to the conference tournament. And once you get there, anything can happen. And as we all, folks watched the tournament go on. When they took down the number 1 seed, that was it. There was nobody else in that path. You could play them, you could push them, knock them around, but they always figured out a way how to get up off the floor, get the ball to the bucket, stay focused, and move out.
Gonna try again, Dr. Cavil. How are things now? How this, Doc? Still nothing. Boy, it's really disappointing.
I know.
He was billed as the main guest of the trio. Boy, this is disappointing. Man, oh man. And goodness gracious. Because he's
I know.
Shucks. Uh-oh.
Doc. Hey, I'm also trying to do it through my computer. You see me on there?
Yeah, we see you. You're Derek, are you here?
Yeah. Yes, I can. Just better, but I can.
But I'm saying I'm trying to come in through my computer, and I was on the iPad, but I'm saying, can you see the other name from the computer?
You're on my phone right now. So which one? Oh.
Did you lose it?
Locked out of that, but I'm still trying to get in from the computer side. You see my name?
Not anymore. You just went off on the computer. Yeah, right now you're not on the computer. I just hear you on the phone. So Wildcat can barely hear you, if at all. So yeah, just try on your computer again, because right now we got you on my phone.
That's what I'm saying. It has me in. It says you're backstage on the hosting seat.
Oh, okay. That's the new link. Try the old link, the very first one.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So yeah, try that out and then go work backwards. So what I sent you the first time, try that. Live streaming shows, Wildcat people. We just doing what you do. You know, we were throwing curveballs all over the place. So
we've done it before.
So we've had to do it and did it before, and we just keep it moving. But it's still the lunch break, powered by JM&E. We're trying to get Dr. Kenyetta Cavil to join the stream of the show, and so Doc, just try to join us on that old link I sent you earlier today, and then we'll go from there. Okay, all right. So, but anyway, you were talking about TSU men's basketball, their success, tournament, Johnny Jones, Wildcat. What time did the game start yesterday? The All-Star game, the HBCU All-Star game, wasn't it 3:00?
Yes, CBS.
So it was on CBS. So it was roughly an hour. No, 20 minutes or so after the start of the Iowa LSU women's championship game. And that's what I was watching was that game. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
Now, think about that. It's been a while since we've moved from the stream situation, one of the off brands, or the sideways TV shows and our networks and all online to be seen. Now we are live on the 3 letters. I thought it was great yesterday. I really did. You know, it's one thing to be watching those games. It's another to be involved in them and watch the timeout situations when the coaches are accustomed to, that minute and a half, minute and 15 seconds of getting them off the floor, getting them back on. Now you got an extended timeout, and you got to figure out how to make that work. And in the process of doing that, you also got to entertain. It went well. I mean,
yes.
There we go. All right.
Is he there?
He's there, and he can hear us. So
okay.
Now officially, the lunch break is bringing you.
There we go.
The reunion of KG, the Fifth Ward Wildcat, and Doc trio podcast. Gentlemen, if I may say so, be so bold.
The original.
We are the OGs of the streaming platforms in this area. Correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
I thought y'all were playing an ugly trick on me. That's what I thought.
We can't do that. We belong to each other, man. Without the 3 of us.
I said this was a good one. I said it's just like the fellas. They're gonna be like, all right, we got Doc. We can get him real good on them. Get him all excited about coming and joining the team, the reunion, man. We've been waiting. And it's appropriate that it's just right after the women's Final Four that we back together, as Kris lured me to take this trip. Sign up for NCAA. You know, I'm doing all this. I think I'm academic. He lures me. He said, man, just this is good. Next thing I know, I'm in Columbus, Ohio, following the women's Final Four. It was a great experience. Let me make sure I share that. It was a great experience. In the Fifth Ward Wildcat, as we like to call him.
Yep.
As we had the podcast tagged along, he said, no, you need to do this. You need to come and figure this out. This new world, this new experience. And now I'm doing my own HBCU stuff streaming. We used to sit in the office on Sundays. First, let me take it back. That's right. Hold on.
Yep.
We used to be in the library. We used to be in the library of U of H.
Yep.
get that done. So yeah, this is nice. This is a beautiful thing. A lot of history here, boy. A lot of brilliant people. I'm talking about y'all too.
Appreciate that, brother. And I'm glad we finally got the technology together to so we can all hear each other and see each other. But this is the lunch break, powered by JM&E. Shout out to AJ Jones for doing this. It's also on the BS3 network.
Shout out to AJ. Brother
yes,
AJ.
If you have a Roku streaming device, because I do believe this is streaming on Roku as well, just download the BS3 TV app. If not, just go to bs3network.com. And now that I got you, Doc and Wildcat, together, I'm going to show you how big time BS3 is with let me see which one I want to show here. Let's do a promo from BS3. Wow. We got to get this brother on one of our shows. All right, check this out. Here we go.
If you're looking for a sports program that gives you the flavor.
Washington Commanders? Really?
This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
That pulls no punches.
Thuggish act by a thuggish actor.
That gives you some humor.
Praise everything LeBron does and never criticize it.
If you want a show that gives you good times, then this is that show. BS3 Network proudly presents.
I am Cole Johnson, and welcome to
Cole Sports with a Z. Every Friday on Patreon, and every Saturday on YouTube, Spreaker, and all other outlets.
How about that?
Now that's cold. That's real cold.
That's putting some work in.
Yeah.
That's putting the work in.
And
that's a real intro.
Man, Kris has come, and AJ, y'all come so far. Y'all have come a long way. Man, that's bad.
He does the promo spots for, I think, all the folks that's on the BS3 network, their commercial spots. So yeah, I'm not yet part of the family. I'm getting close to being part of the family, going through initiation, and this might have been the last initiation. See if I can pull this off today. So, but I did it.
I'm glad you said initiation, not hazing, because
No. Yeah, we pulled it off. AJ, he got tossed curveballs, had to make some changes on his side, so we couldn't be part of today's show. So that's why we're not at GRB on Radio Row, and we're streaming instead. But still, nevertheless,
we're gonna give the people what they want, what they need, though.
Right. This is still KG, the Fifth Ward Wildcat, and Doc on the lunch break on Roku on BS3 Network, powered by JM&E. Doc, were you at TSU yesterday?
Yes, I did get to go. I took my son Deuce. Had a great event, crowded, but that was a good thing in terms of this type of event. And so made it work, entertaining.
So what were your thoughts on the talent you saw at the HBCU, the second annual HBCU All-Star Game?
We've said this for a long time. There's always a lot of talent out there. They came and gave a showcase with all types of skills, defense, which you don't always see in these games, compared to other All-Star games, I would say at least. But the offensive showcase was there, a lot of lively movement. A lot of folks that I believe are going to get a chance to play professional basketball overseas, maybe even get a G League invite here and there. And you never know, once you get those opportunities that you can take off a life of its own. And obviously every player's collegiately dream is to play in the NBA, or at least professionally at some point in their time. So that's out there. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously Joe Bryant is one of the ones that I continue to put my pulse on. I think he's the real deal in terms of just the way he's able to play basketball, particularly in this age, the isolation. He's been doing that at Norfolk State and winning championships and going to the tournament. And he's a very skillful player. Obviously, the bigs in the game, you can't teach size. They get a chance to see what they can do when you're talking about Jordan a couple of those guys. So it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like as maybe one or two gets a camp invite. But outside of that, I certainly believe they'll be able to go to overseas and make some money.
And overseas makes good money if you go to the right country, the right team. Wildcat, you can talk about that, your knowledge on overseas. So just add some info on players making a good living overseas.
True. Because now you can do the Asian League and really make some money, but just because of the connections and all that those teams are affiliated with the manufacturers and all. If you go in Europe, France, Italy, Greece, that's where you want to kind of like plant your foot and get indoctrinated. Always remember this. Because of Kobe's dad playing in the European League, his skill level was far beyond what the high school kids were here at the time. Because remember, we didn't know who he was or what he was doing. He would come in during the summer, go to the summer camps and all, and all they saw was just this kid that was fundamentally sound, but he looked like us, the three of us. It wasn't until he spent time back in Philly and said, okay, I'm going to adjust. And he made the adjustment, as they say, like you made that phone call to me early, late one Friday and said, well, the scout said, well, we know what we're looking at now. We need him in the league as quickly as possible.
I'm going to say this again, because I told Wildcat, was it Friday or Saturday? Saturday when we were at NRG, just a great story of Kobe and at the All-Star game here in Houston years ago, where he blew my mind and the mind of many other media in attendance when he answered questions at his press conference in English, Italian, and Chinese. I mean, like rapid fire. It was just an impressive thing I had seen, because somebody tried to be smart when the person asked Chinese said, "You need to translate." And Kobe just went off and it's like, nope.
Got that too.
And got that too. And it went on. And I was like, ooh, damn.
What they don't understand, the people don't understand when he says they were there, a lot of us, like myself, got to see it from the television perspective, broadcast, either live or later. They were there in the arena listening like, what just happened?
Yeah. So it was just, we've been blessed to be covering sports a long time, credentialed to cover sports for a long time. You know, the Wildcat is the first of us, and all three of us owe a lot to the Hall of Famer, Mr. Ralph Cooper, for
OG
teaching us, kicking us in the behind, motivating us, inspiring us to get into this, to continue to do this. So when Doc touched on it, and Jerry, you can confirm this. When I urged Doc to apply for a credential for the Women's Final Four, it's because of others urged me to apply in previous years to attend and cover the Women's Final Four. So it's all paying it forward. And that's what all three of us try to do with the younger generation, is pay it forward. And Doc's doing great things in the lab with CB Charles Bishop and Mike Washington at Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, which is a huge show, great show, informative show, covering everything sports business too, HBCU sports, football, basketball, volleyball, track. Doc talks to coaches, SWAC, MEAC, NAIA. He does it all, does a great job informing the audience and the public about this little info about inside. That's what it is, inside the HBCU Sports Lab. So, Doc, just talk about, if you can, just add your thoughts and your inspiration for that show and that platform.
Class is in session.
Thank you. The beautiful thing is you kind of started it. You said it in a lot of ways when you talk about Ralph Cooper, the legend. You know, it's one of the ways that we like to honor him. And now the Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, as they started coming in and making sure that he got his flowers before he moves to another place. But that being said, he was really the inspiration. He took me in, and Ralph is unique because you don't know that he's taking you in oftentimes, and that he's going to give you this opportunity, challenge you, groom you, and it just happens. And before you know it, you're trying to figure out what that was. And so I also want to throw out a little love to Larry Chatterbox, another one that is integral in terms of the role that he plays in mentoring and shaping what we've come to know in the greater Houston sports, which obviously includes HBCU sports for him right here at Texas Southern University. In a previous life, I was actually chronicling doing a top 10 poll ranking for HBCU football. And so with that being the space, there were previous polls out there. I always like to be clear that it's not something that I came up with. The unique part I did come up with is that you actually go back to 1920 with the Pittsburgh Couriers that were doing rankings for polls, taking folks in the polls because the other polls simply wouldn't cover, the AP and all that kind of stuff and other media sources. So Black people, African Americans, at that time, it was the Negro newspapers decided that they would take care of their own. So they cover HBCUs and do the top 10. So going forward again, the thing that was unique at that time, all HBCUs were ranked in the same poll. And a lot of times that's before we got into this modern nomenclature. We had the NCAA, FCS Division I, NCAA Division II. You mentioned NIA, right, where a lot of HBCUs actually started. And so what I came is I noticed being in the marketplace, and this was when social media chat boards were just taking off, people would have consternation of the poll rankings, including all HBCU programs, NIA, Division II, and FCS Division I, because people that may not realize that each of those levels have different scholarship limits. The NCAA Division II and NIA are very close, but certainly different from the Division I. So with a little bit of my business background, I decided I'm going to get in this field, and I did 2 poll rankings, took some people and voted. And long story short, people got excited about it. And one time I didn't do the poll, because I actually had another career that I was doing, got a call and it was like, man, where the poll? You need to get the poll. People looking for the poll. So I shot out the poll. So I do the poll and I'm putting it out there and marking it as you try to do on the back thing. And Chatterbox hears it. He says, can you do that on the radio? I said, I don't see why not. I really didn't understand what he was asking me, to be honest. And so I do it. He said, man, that was great. As you just know, the radio word, Ralph Cooper hears it. He said, man, I need to get with that dude. Who is that?
Yep.
He said, yeah, he thinking that I'm in a different state, country maybe. He said, no, he right here in Houston. So Ralph puts out the call like he does, comes to the station. So I do the station. Seriously, long story short, I start doing it, preparing. He liked what I did, and we came in different commentary. I came from a sport business background. As I'm building the BS in sport management at Texas Southern University, later the MS in sports studies. And before I know it, I'm a regular on the show and learning the craft and going through it. And then it takes off from there. And we go to a streaming platform, talking with you, Kris, getting information about how the new technologies. And next thing I know, I have a full syndicate show Tuesday and Thursday as you introduce Inside HBCU Sports Lab. During the football season, we also do Sunday. And I partnered and purchased a stake in Black College Sports Network, BCSN, which is out of Florida. And so we partner in out of Atlanta. And so now we have multiple HBCU shows that do stuff independently. While we cover it all, we have shows that cover specific HBCUs, whether it's Southern, Prairie View, Texas Southern, FAMU, Jackson State to name, the pregame show. It really blew off with the announcement of Dion, just for those that may not understand. But that's the connection of where we are. And we just continue to grow. North Carolina Central, Twitter shows, and all kinds of things of where we move forward. And it's just, again, it's beautiful because now I get to come back and kind of tell that story with the folks that were impetus of starting it when we decided to do a podcast.
Yep. And reminder, you are watching The Lunch Break powered by JM&E on the BS3 network, BS3 TV. One more spot here. Gonna impress some more people, impress my brothers. Like I said, BS3 is changing the way you watch television. Check this out.
That's why we here on this platform.
Marriage, a loving splendor, a daily grind. Such is the case when Damien and Jamie get together and chop it up, for marriage is real.
Let's just lay it all out here. Let's just be real with it.
Join this wonderful couple who keeps it real and always in love. BS3 Network proudly presents Marriage is Real, where love is the only thing that matters. Live every Tuesday at 8:30 Central. Oh, and Jamie has something to say.
Deuces and trays.
That's one. And we're not done. I got one more for you guys here on the lunch break, powered by JM&E.
Alicia.
You can't hold somebody to that standard if you haven't voiced what you want and what you're needing from that.
Mika.
If you're not communicating expectations, you're waiting for your feelings to be hurt.
Nicole.
A lot of people don't want to take the time out to be alone and to get themselves together.
Ivan.
You got to be willing to work through stuff. And from the jump street, y'all done had problems. Maybe you don't need to be working through those.
BS3 Network proudly presents Queen 3 and King podcast. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central.
And once again, I'm Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Joining me is the Fifth Ward Wildcat, Jerry Lee Woodley Jr., AKSV, the CSR, the College Sports Report, and Dr. Kenyetta, Cavil, TSU professor, the Dean of HBCU Sports. The three of us were, the OGs, really. We were KG. We are KG, the Fifth Ward Wildcat and Doc podcast. We started it. And Doc, Wildcat, you know this. Jerry and I started the podcast, but Doc touched on it, how Ralph Cooper reached out to him. That's how I met Doc, was via Ralph Cooper at KCOH. And I said, this brother knows his stuff. I'm going to ask him if he'd like to join our podcast. And the duo became a trio, and the rest is history. Wildcat, what are your thoughts on that?
So true. So true. Like Doc mentioned, on Sundays, we meet in his office. We do the podcast. We do all the sounds, and we made it work. And when push come to shove, things would get in the way. We just move it out, move mountains. We move mountains. It wasn't molehills we would move. We would move mountains. We would get around it, and we were all covering what we needed to cover to make it all work. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one other person that helped me more so with high school sports than anybody else outside of Ralph, and that was King Arthur Prater.
King Arthur.
Yes, sir.
He had a newspaper, a Sunday show, and we just went and got after it. I moved him into college, and he moved me over into high school, and we just started doing with the video and going on the YouTube channel. And then I ran into some folks while I was on a conference tournament trip in Las Vegas, and found out some things about YouTube that was coming down the line. And I come back with this information. He said, Jared, I'll get you a camera and equipment. I'm going to turn you loose. He said, I told him, I said, don't worry. If you put it in my hands, we're going to figure it out and add it to the program. And sure enough, he got the website, he got the paper going, and then we were making the announcements on Sunday at the radio station. It was just, we ballooned out beyond his compare, and we had sponsors, and the sponsor was like, okay, what else can y'all add? And we moving around the country.
Yep.
I'll never forget the biggest trip we made was, it was to a jazz, Mobile Blues banquet in Memphis, Tennessee. And we were one of the last people to do a audible interview with Bobby Bland in Memphis, Tennessee. And that made the trip all worthwhile. And I ran into some folks I had listened to while I was in high school and all, and saw those people. I was like, man, this is gonna work.
Yep.
We never looked back once we got going. It was always, as they said in the movies and TV shows, looking forward, moving forward.
You know, and it's great. I'm glad you mentioned King's name, King Arthur Prather. May he rest in power. Max Edison, same for him. But King's show, King was one of the first people to be on YouTube, have his show on YouTube. And back then, the files were so large.
Oh man!
I mean, we've come such a long way in technology, but we would record it in the studio. It would take so long to load because the file space was so huge. But now we're streaming live on multiple platforms, on Facebook, YouTube, Roku. We've come so far in really a short amount of time, but it is just, we are continuing, or we're trying to continue what King started, what Max Edison wanted to see started. This is one of Max's goals right here, is to see three of us discussing a show, discussing sports topics. So I met Adolphus A.D. Moore. A.D. Moore is now part of the Houston Roundball Review Woodley Media Group. He covers football, the Texans, and the Roughnecks for the Houston Roundball Review. So I'm not just basketball anymore. The Houston Roundball Review is also football. I'm trying to get somebody for baseball as well, because both of y'all know I have nothing to do with baseball.
Speaking of that,
when y'all did baseball back in the day, I would shut up and just let y'all got it, because I had nothing else to add.
Oh man! He would just dread, because I would be coming. Doc and I would be coming in from Texas Southern or Prairie View, over at Rice, and we would get started with baseball, and he would just like, "Okay, it's y'all show. I have
got it. Y'all segment. I got nothing to add." So.
Oh my goodness.
Man, he used to be fired up. It wasn't in a negative way, but he's like, man, y'all know how I feel about baseball. I still tease him this day. We keep up in Messenger and stuff like that. So every time I send him something, hey, this is a baseball update, he'd be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that hasn't changed. It won't change. But let me be clear: if a young person wants to get credentialed and cover baseball under the Houston Roundball Review umbrella, I'm here for it.
There you go.
Don't get that twisted. I'll help you get started, because I helped get Andy Yanez started. And Andy's surpassed our initial goals. Hey, I have to continue to pay it forward because of the folks who helped me along my path. That's what I'm here to do, is show and teach y'all so y'all can learn from my mistakes. No young person should make the mistakes we made.
Right.
Because we've taught y'all and showed y'all, don't do that. Okay? Wildcat, you still deal with it directly. With young people.
Man, yes.
So
I have to always tell them, I said, look, we're doing post-game interviews. Some of this stuff that goes on around you, I don't want to see it online. And they look at me with a look. And I tell them, I said, I'm not joking. I don't want to see this. Anything that's strange, I don't want to see it online. You don't need that. You're working professionally now. You're applying for another job down the road. Don't get it twisted. This is all fun and games, but don't. I repeat, don't. Let me see that online. Not that I won't help you, but I will correct you, and I will be stern about it, because this is about professionalism. It's not about fun and games and building up platforms. On some of these platforms are not for you to be posting professional interviews.
Yep.
Just let that go.
Doc, let's touch on this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but Doc, I want to get you to comment on Dr. Charles McClellan, who, man,
long way.
All three of us have known Dr. McClellan a long, long time.
That's right.
But just your thoughts on Dr. McClellan from TSU, PV, and now being commissioner of the SWAC. And since tonight ends the men's Division I college basketball season, basically tomorrow begins Dr. McClellan's tenure as the what, Woodley? The president, the chair of the men's basketball committee for next season. Doc, just your thoughts a little bit on Dr. Charles McClellan.
It's still amazing to hear that in regards to the humble beginning that I'm sure he will even talk about. But as you alluded to, we've all been around him, literally seen his growth. To some way, I think he would even had some type of impact on his growth. Obviously, the majority of it he's done in terms of just the work that he's put into it. Very sharp individual. But I'll take it back to when we literally were just having fun. we were on the campus at Prairie View A&M University together. And as we like to call it back then, we were literally on two sides of the world, opposite sides of the campus. He was in the business school and I was in the engineering school, which polar opposite sides of the campus. And we used to call, if you were on our side, engineering going that, we call it Hobart City. The building was Hobart Taylor. We call it Hobart City because we felt that you had to walk transverse that far across campus. But I remember distinctly when he had a chance, when he was doing golf, coming to financial aid, and got a chance to get involved in athletics, calling games, which is a great lesson for those that want to get in sports. This is a challenge that is unique to this field. You have to start at a ground type of level. It's very challenging to get in this business, even with years of experience, in such a way that you can climb up. So he literally started just doing the small things in athletics. We remember when he first got the athletic director's job at Prairie View A&M University. And he was one of the youngest ADs at the time in the country. The programs, frankly, was in shambles. Had been shut down, no scholarships, and he rebuilt it to be competitive and had many championships outside of football. And he left before the pinnacle, at least for in southern regions, particularly Prairie View, that has such a dynamic football history. He left to come over to Texas Southern University, which he says was his best move. But I literally remember talking to him about, hey, you got to make this move. Just because of all the things that were going around it. And he openly made a decision, and thanks to Texas Southern University, to their credit, they saw the talent that he had and essentially what he did at Prairie View, where they won championships in baseball, women's basketball, some of the things they had literally never had or hadn't been done in 30, 40 years. And I used to tell him all the time, he's like, man, he didn't really think about it and started resonating. I said, man, you're doing things that haven't been done at all or hadn't been done in 30, 40 years.
Yep.
That's significant. And so when he transitioned over, Prairie View, which is a lot of the foundation he built, literally won like back-to-back SWAC, all tournament type trophies, all sports awards, I should say. Then they won the championship 2009 with the Stellar team. And then he went to work at Texas Southern.
Yep.
And they literally seen heights in terms of their program, multiple championships with multiple sports across the board, getting it done. And then the opportunity was envisioned where he could become the SWAC commissioner. I remember distinctly that he was extremely happy at Texas Southern University.
Yeah.
And while the commissioner job may have kind of like piqued his interest in the background, he really was not seeking to lead. And then some of the SWAC presidents, key couple of ones, literally in some ways kind of recruited him. And again, I had a chance, and I'm sure other folks as well. I was like, man, this is a great opportunity to look at it. He's like, I know Cavil, but I'm happy here. Kids are growing and whatever. One was just starting school in terms of playing basketball, scholarships, keen in terms of that. And so things were well at Texas Southern. He had it shut down. I mean, they probably were going to continue to win in a lot of ways, grow, APR stuff. transverse all that because Texas Southern had a major nosedive. One of the few programs in the country at the time that got major sanction for APR and just athletics. He weathered that storm, got through there and rebuilt that, and they just kept winning. And then he went to the commissioner's office. And the SWAC people don't realize at that time they were literally having financial problems where it was destitute, where they were below zero. They were negative numbers.
We know that. Yeah, we know that.
You had teams that were, you talk about conference churning, as we talked about on the show back then, having fun with it. It was going to be some teams churning out of SWAC, and it wasn't because they were going to high ground. They just wanted to make sure they could level set.
Yep.
He changed that, and next thing you know, the conference expands, getting one of the biggest brands out there with FAMU, going into Florida and coming back with Bethune-Cookman as well, weathering the storm for COVID-19 that shut down everything. Now they're getting contracts out, significant payouts to the school. Last 2 years, they've had their largest payout in the conference history. They signed a mega deal over $100 million, 10 years with HBCU Go.
Say that again. Say
yeah,
that again.
It's over $100 million deal for 10 years. This is larger than the bottom 3 FBS programs. Now they're going through some broadcast rights too, so they might jump above it and somehow. But yeah, that is a significant deal for people don't realize. And it's what we would call the secondary rights. I remember when we talked about this on the show, people weren't even into this. We were talking about media rights, secondary rights. And so ESPN owns the first rights. In a couple of years, that deal would be up. So you would think that that's going to be significant. They extended the contract for the MEAC SWAC Challenge, which is going well. It hitting numbers above everything else out there. And so it's the payout for that bowl game has increased under his watch. And so you get to the culmination where, as you talked about, he literally takes over tomorrow, the president, which was unheard of in terms of his peers coming out of SWAC HBCU conference, that he's the chair of the basketball. And in many ways, people may not realize that that's literally the most powerful position in terms of basketball in college. Maybe the only other 2 positions bigger than in a lot of ways, maybe 3. You say the commissioner of WNBA, commissioner of NBA, and then the president of USA basketball operations are probably, easily top 5 most important positions and roles somebody has over any 10-year period of time in the United States for sure. So to see that is amazing when you talk about somebody that you literally remember joking in front of what we used to call the block down there. And we just being college folks, him joining his fraternity, me joining my fraternity. He's a member of Kappa Alpha Psi for those folks out there. Make sure that he gets their recognition and part of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. So to see that, and Prairie View, like a lot of HBCUs or small sects of different, is really a family in a lot of ways. So we take great pride to seeing what he's accomplished over the years. And so it's amazing to see where he has come from. And to be honest, I think this is just the beginning in terms of where he's going.
Yep. And these final few minutes of the lunch break here, bringing you a reunion of KG, the Fifth Ward Wildcat, and Doc, as in Dr. Cavil. For those who don't know you, gentlemen, you first, Wildcat, just a brief rundown of your resume, sir. And then you, Doc,
I started
sure
from humble beginnings, as they say, covering first HISD middle school sports, boys and girls basketball, and went from that over to football, then moved out to high school varsity sports. As I say, Ralph and King was kind of like, this is where we at. This is what I want you to do. This is what you needed to cover. And we were carrying these big studio tape recorders around.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Jumbo size, man.
Folks, we laughing, but we know that to be
true.
That was a requirement. That was a requirement. And we was doing the what they call the scrum. The cattle call.
Yep.
Putting the mic in everybody's face and you're moving on. And then I went from that to college, as I say, Southwest Conference. But just before it started to break up, conference term, and the conferences had control over your media credentials. And you would get a notice in the mail, and either through your affiliation or at home, it says, okay, this is the minimum requirement. We're going to hand them out and fill out the information and send it back in by a certain time. And we'll send your credential through the mail. We just want to make sure everything's good.
Through the mail.
Yes. Oh, man. This is where I'm really finna tell my story. We were getting credential events such as Final Four, conference tournament, national championships, NFL, all professional sports, from World Series, playoffs, All-Star games. They were all coming through the mail. Everything was done by paper.
Yep.
We got that. We got past that. And then, for whatever reason, the NC2A came calling to Kris Gardner and myself and said, we need y'all to kind of like come and help us out in the conference office. We're doing something called mock selection. It's where we invite the media in along with the coaches, and we want you all to sit at the table and put the brackets together.
Yep.
And that was an interesting process.
Yeah.
And Kris and I have been going so far back, they were still using pencil and paper.
Yep.
Now you laughing, but we walked into this room and all it was files on all four walls, stacked up 6 feet all the way around, and the only empty space was 2 water coolers and 6 TVs. And you watching games all across the country. And on that Sunday, when they was putting the women together, they still watching games and having to have the tournament ready and done before the last game is done. And you're trying to add in, and if something happens, oh my goodness, that's 30 extra minutes. And you try to you scrambling, and this to this day is still a fact. When your conference schools are mentioned, you got to step out of the room.
Right.
You can't have a say so in who in your conference is coming and going, and you just hoping that they win. And once Kris and I got to that point, the world kind of like opened up for us and everything else. We got to be involved in teams and all coming to the area. We'd get contacted. Okay, who do you know that we can get advertising with? Kris will tell you.
Yep.
They would send tickets, and we just go and hand them out. Take them to the community centers, neighborhood centers, and just says, okay. Because at that time, pretty much everybody had an afternoon after-school program. Hand them off 100 tickets. You figured out how you want to hand them out. What do you mean? Just hand them out. They're all free. They good? Yes. I said, I'll tell you what. When we get done, we head it over to Ralph Cooper's show, and we're going to hand them a bunch and they said, Ralph, start giving them out because folks thought we were joking.
Yep.
And then once we got...
Let's wrap it up because we got to get everything in these last.
Now, I'm going to add just one last point.
Go ahead.
On Tuesdays, Kris and I used to do a remote at Denny's across from Southboard, over there on Southboard and 288. Doc, don't laugh. Don't laugh. Rain or shine, sleet or snow. And we were doing it by telephone fax line.
Yeah.
With this big board. And folks were looking at us with this look like, what are y'all doing? And we'd have tape on the floor from the fax machine. So nobody could get it ordered in on Tuesdays from 5 to 6. And it was like, well, we can't get the orders in. I'm sorry. But
well, that's if they didn't have multiple lines. Like Denny's didn't. They had a phone line, fax line. We used one line for our show. So whatever line we used, they only had one other line for the orders. But we brought them business because people listened to the show, enjoyed what we were doing. We had guests on. We had women's basketball players from Rice, UH, TSU on the show, and they got folks saw who the players were, got to know them based on that, and then went to some of their games. So it all worked out. But yes, this is history right here. We're giving everybody here on the lunch break from Wildcat, myself, and Dr. Kenyetta Cavil.
Matter of fact, I'm going to close out with this. One of the former players that used to come on a regular basis was former Prairie View and Texas Southern head women's basketball coach, Kenyetta Hayes. That's why people first met her at.
Yep.
Now she up there doing the thing.
Yes.
Baltimore.
As they say, she figured it out.
Yep.
Postseason tournament.
So real quick, Doc, this is a synopsis of who you are, sir.
Yeah, the main thing people need to know is one is I may look older than this, but these guys actually welcome me in. So I'm a newbie from this, but I like to say that I jump off and learn really fast. And so I bring a lot of the academic because my true responsibility is a professor at Texas Southern University. So I developed a sport management program here in sports studies and actually as a joint appointment in school communication. And a lot of that is because the work that I was able to do with this team. And so I kind of told you my background earlier and how I got started. So I'll jump through all that and just say now part of the fact is I can talk all sports, but I choose to focus on HBCUs. So if you want to know anything about HBCU sports, we cover it 24/7, around the clock, 365 days in regards to all the sports, all perspectives, coaches, ADs, commissioners, and literally do it from a cultural perspective, what we call now the HBCU sports pedagogy, as well as looking at it from the business of sports, which I think is important because sometimes we get so much into our fandom that we forget in a lot of ways it's still a business. But yeah, we can talk to sports. For example, shout out to Jasmine Carson in terms of coming off the bench and giving 22 points in the championship game for the women at LSU as they got it done. But we would talk about the game. We would talk about coaches, things that frustrated, likes, dislikes. And so we can go into all of that. And obviously, we'll look at and be able to give you some updates. And Kris will break it down in so many different ways in terms of the championship game tonight. We'll be in there with the media covering and making sure that you get your news, locally known, globally respected.
And that's us. That's a great way to end it right there. So we will be at NRG Stadium for the men's Final Four title game between UConn and San Diego State. Wildcat, how can folks find you on social media?
Social media, YouTube, AKSV, DCSR, The College Sports Report, Facebook, Twitter, also on Instagram as JL Woodley 1, Jerry Lee Woodley Jr.
Doc, how can folks find you on social media?
Yeah, social media, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, real simple. Dr. Kenyetta Cavil, that's DrKenyatta Cavil, DrKenyatta. I know y'all like that. Remember that. Ralph used to repeat it and say it twice.
That's right.
You can also go to YouTube, FaceTime, and go to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. That's Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. And follow us on BCSN and all those social media platforms at BCSN. My JBN will get you anywhere around Dr. Cavil and HBCU sports.
And I'm Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review, Twitter, THEHR Review, HoustonRoundballReview.com, Houston Roundball Review on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Big shout out to AJ Jones for giving me the key to the kingdom. So the spots on Roku for the lunch break, powered by JM&E, and also on the BS3 network, changing the way you watch television. If you have a Roku streaming device, just download BS3 TV. If not, just go to bs3network.com. We hope you enjoyed the reunion of KG, Fifth of Wildcat, and Doc here on the lunch break. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. Technology happens, throws you some curveballs. You just got to adjust and make it do what it do. We learned that from Mr. Ralph Cooper, the Hall of Famer. Stuff happens, deal with it and keep moving. And that's what he taught us years ago, and we still push it forward today, as you saw. We're going to close it out. I'm not sure if AJ.
Shout out to AJ.
This, but we're going to wrap it up here with what you need to know from the lovely queen, Miss Sybil Wilkes. Take care, everybody. See you. I'll be on AJ on Throwback Thursday this Thursday. We got a lot to discuss on Thursday, so tune in on lunch break for that as well. Take care.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know on, well, you call it Thursday. I call it Friday Eve, April 6, 2023. Number 1. Tennessee state Republicans charge that 3 Democratic legislators, Gloria Johnson, Justin Jones, and Justin Pearson, were disorderly when they joined a protest for more gun control at the Tennessee State House last week, following the mass murders of 3 children and 3 adults at a Covenant school. Tennessee House Speaker Cameron Sexton said that he supported the expulsion of 3 Democrats who engaged in a protest against gun violence on the House floor by using a megaphone. Representative Jones responded that going into the well of the House occurred after their desk microphones were cut off and they were ignored by the Speaker. Now, a vote on their future will be held today. Number 2. Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson was elected mayor of Chicago Tuesday, defeating Paul Vallis, former CEO of Chicago Public Schools. It was a narrow race decided by 16,000 votes. Mayor-elect Johnson will become the second black man elected to lead the Windy City since Harold Washington took office in 1983. Number 3. Every so often there are reports that drinking a small amount of alcohol is not harmful. Some studies have even indicated that drinking moderate amounts of alcohol may have some health benefits. However, a recent study found that drinkers who consume less than 1 ounce of ethanol, the form of alcohol found in beer, wine, and liquors, showed no significant increase in lifespan compared to non-drinkers. There are a number of factors to consider in the study of how drinking alcohol can affect one's lifespan. Those factors include genetics as well as one's gender and ability to metabolize alcohol. Number 4. Job Uriah Taylor reportedly traveled throughout Santa Monica, California, physically expressing his anger towards black people by using racial slurs and physically beating up at least 2 people. The Santa Monica Police Department said the attacks happened March 3rd around 7:30 in the morning. Officers responded to the first call near the Santa Monica Pier. Taylor was arrested, taken into custody at the Santa Monica jail, and charged with 2 counts of attempted murder, 1 count of assault with a deadly weapon, and 1 count of assault with force likely to produce great bodily injury. Number 5. Parents who harshly discipline their young children may be putting them on a path towards lasting mental health symptoms, according to a new study. Researchers found that among 7,500 children followed from the age of 3 to 9, about 10% fell into a high-risk group where mental health symptoms, ranging from persistent sadness to acting out, worsened over the years. And children whose parents often used harsh discipline, over-controlling behavior, including yelling or physical punishment, were about 50% more likely than their peers to end up in that group. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Contribute to others' creative expressions by not judging their creativity. Okay. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partner, the American Heart Association. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with our mental wellness contributor, Aprilette Russell, as we discuss today's top headlines and more. I'm Sybil Wilkes. Be informed, be empowered.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.